right. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing today? Let me switch this hat. Oh, goodness me. There we go. I am your host, Lumberjack, and you are tuning in to Timber Talk, navigating the political forest. As always, I appreciate you guys for showing up week in and week out and navigating with me. It's a beautiful thing to have, is a group of people that want to know truth and to live by truth and to grow with truth. Today, we have an excellent show for you today. Willing to bet some of the topics you have no clue about, know nothing about, but that's my job as your host, American Lumberjack, to get you on par with what the media won't tell you. That's the whole point of this show. So again, as always, I thank you for joining me week in and week out. And we're going to open in prayer and get right to this navigation. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for today. We thank you for this awesome opportunity to be blessed with strength in our bones, breath in our lungs, and blood in our veins, Lord, and a beat in our heart, God. God, I ask that you guide us through the rest of this week and continue to protect us and keep us. And Lord, help us continue to know truth and search out for truth, Lord, and not just to settle for what is told to us. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. Guys, this particular week is going to be a doozy because there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of distractions going on. But what I will not do is distract from what they won't tell you behind the scenes. Our first segment today is called Obamacare. So Washington is back essentially arguing over Obamacare subsidies. Now, if anybody knows anything about Obamacare, you know that when it first came out, it was problematic. You were told that if you don't get it, then you're going to be penalized. And it made that private health care that you did have prior to more expensive, and a lot of people were kicked off of said insurances. And in a lot of ways, those insurances were substantially better in every way, shape, or form. So they're meeting over this Obamacare not to find out how to lower the cost or how to fix the system, but how much longer taxpayers will have to keep propping Obamacare up. Yes, everybody believes that Obamacare is for the people and it's going to benefit the people. But the problem is it's not for the people, nor is it truly benefiting the people. It is something akin to universal health care with a twist. So how much longer can taxpayers keep propping this up in all actuality? So let me lay out some facts for you. The Federal Affordable Care Act, the ACA Act, for those that don't know, relies heavily on federal premium subsidies. A lot of people don't know what subsidies is, so we're going to break that down for you. And this is to keep the marketplace plans affordable. Now, I could give you anecdotals and tell you how the ACA really affected me, but I won't do that. I'm not going to bore you with that. Most of you are living it day in and day out. So those subsidies were massively expanded during COVID and were always billed as temporary. So when the ACA was created, the subsidies were not made to be permanent. They were supposed to sunset, meaning go down after a certain amount of time. And then by that certain time that it goes down, they were supposed to have a replacement plan for that. Well, that replacement plan never came. In Trump's first term, he was lambasted and drugged and raked over the coals for not having a replacement, but saying he wanted to replace the ACA. It's kind of hard to replace an animal that's created in the dark with the people that run the system. So today, tens of millions of Americans depend on them being affordable, them being the ACA. And overall, the coverage is not affordable. It really isn't. It only benefits a certain demographic of people, whereas those that are stuck in the middle, which is the majority, are up the creek without a paddle. So without the subsidies, premiums would reflect the true cost of the plan, which wouldn't be affordable even for those that actually receive the care. And those high costs are because insurance prices, because insurers price their products around a guarantee that the federal government will support them. According to the federal data, the average benchmark of the ACA premium has more than doubled since, good old Barry put it into legislation. Overall, you can say what you want, but the truth is the truth. This was never a good thing or a good idea out the gate, even though they, handed it over to us on a silver platter saying that this is the new standard and it's going to fix everything and make everything better. It was a lie. Subsidies didn't stop. They just hid it behind the veil of healthcare. Every dollar used to offset premiums is taxpayer money. So you're getting this universal health care while being told that it's not universal health care and that you're not really having to pay for it when you are, because the government can't make money without the taxpayers, right? Well, outside of them doing deals with other countries. So the taxpayer money either collected today or borrowed against the future, which is how they initially started it out, is how they got the Affordable Care Act. That means higher deficits, more federal spending, and more pressure on working Americans, those like you and I, who may not even be on Obamacare's plans. I, for one, am not. I know a lot of people who are not. I know a lot of people who lost their coverage because of Obamacare. Subsidies don't reduce healthcare costs. They don't. They socialize them. They spread the costs amongst others while borrowing at the same time. They encourage insurers to raise prices and lock consumers into, a fragile system that could be blown over with one misvote. So if a singular individual doesn't vote for this and they need that singular individual, the whole system goes up in flames. And we, the taxpayers who have been propping this up through subsidies, are left to pay and foot the bill. So when these things do expire, which they have been set to expire multiple times already, the premiums are going to spike. Not because the Republicans caused it, but because the real price of the plans are now visible. It's like the subsidies are like a veil, and when you remove the veil on the wedding night, your bride is actually a man when you thought it was a woman. And this is the shock that we run into. Obamacare subsidies are not reform. They're just a cover charge on a broken plan that was created by a bunch of really rich people that got a lot richer off of our backs. And taxpayers are the ones that are stuck paying the bill. It's like going out on a date and you guys decide to go Dutch and split it, and one side goes and to the bathroom and never comes out. So that's what this really boils down to. How do you feel about having to pay when you're told that this thing isn't what it is, and you look behind the curtain and you see, wait a minute, these things are more difficult than what you let it out to be? And what happened to all that money that was penalizing people, or people were being penalized with? Some of that went into Barack Obama's personal pocket. So you have this person sign into law a trap. It's like a bear trap out the gate, and every American is stuck in it, whether you're benefiting from it or not benefiting from it. But if you're going to do socialized healthcare, it should be something that is competitive, not to force private health insurers to change the way they do things and have people's premiums and deductibles and all that double and triple, all to be able to fight against what the government is doing. So these private insurers can't fight the federal government, because the federal government essentially has unlimited money as long as people keep paying taxes. So if you really want to cut through all the BS and look at it for what it is, you have been bamboozled out the gate, and you will continue to be bamboozled. Stop letting the government use big words to lie to you. If they say something and you don't understand it, go look it up. Don't be a sheep. Don't be dumb. Don't be stupid. If you have a contract set down in front of you and it sounds too good to be true, if it's coming from the federal government, it's 100% guaranteed to be too good to be true. But our next story is now cutting the brass, gaining bite. This story is pretty cool, and I think you guys will like it because there's some changes taking place in our Pentagon. And with the Pentagon, they're preparing one of the biggest military restructures in decades. Essentially, our military and the military industrial complex has not been restructured or fixed or changed in a very long time, really, truly since 9/11. But what the plan is to have fewer generals, fewer commands, and more power concentrated at the top. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but we got to see how it plays out. Now, Congress is trying to hit the brakes on this as hard as possible because, Congress doesn't want anybody to have power except for them, really and truly. Congress is the only place that there are no real checks and balances. Think about it. Who tells Congress what they can and can't do? Oh, the Supreme Court does. Well, why does Congress continually legislate and have bills passed into law that violate your constitutional rights? The Supreme Court's supposed to stop that, right? Well, it seems like the Supreme Court's only worried about the big issues and not the little issues that continue to pile up on people like you and I. So here's some gritty little tidbits about this. The defense leadership is proposing a major reconciliation and reorganization over the U.S. military commands. The plan would be to reduce the number of combatant commands from 11 down to 8. I see how this can work, and I also can see the other side of this and how this could fail. If you have less chiefs and more Indians, things can be more streamlined. However, less chiefs essentially means less voices that could go against what is being proposed as well, especially if you get people in power that are pro one side or pro the other. It's not a right or left thing. It's a control thing. And we, the people, don't really control the military. The executive does. So they're going from 11 commanders down to 8. That's the plan. So the major regional commands like Europe, Africa, and the Middle East would be consolidated to border umbrellas. Basically, those areas would be under the control of a certain group in the command. Northern and Southern Command would merge into a single America's-focused command. That part I love. Because why are we not more American-centric? What is so wrong with being America first, or in some cases, America only? What is so wrong with that? Every other country on the planet puts themselves first. Yet, while America is doing what America does, they're just sucking off the teat of Americans. And no one else foots the bill but Americans. I like the idea of America first, or even more so, America only, at least until we get our kinks worked out. And I can see how this particular situation would play towards those efforts. At the same time, the number of 4-star generals reporting directly to the Secretary of Defense would be reduced. Supporters say that this cuts bureaucracy, streamlines decision-making, and modernizes a Cold War structure. I like it. Why are we constantly and consistently living in the past when the past is not happening? We know about the Cold War and how that structure worked, and we know how to handle it. Why not adapt and change and be able to handle that on a smaller scale? That means less money coming out of your pockets. But with Congress, they're not convinced. And they're never going to be convinced because they like the things that they put in place and they don't like anybody messing with it or changing it. Yet they gave those people that ability to do so. But when those people act on those things and act on that ability to do these things, they're looked at sideways and told no. So lawmakers from both parties are demanding detailed reports. They want to know every single facet. First and foremost, Congress, I have to stop and pull back a little bit. Congress, You don't even read the bills that are being proposed. So why do you need details and reports about what's being restructured in the military and how the command works? Why do you need that? Are you going to read it? You have Marjorie Taylor Greene with her simple monkey-minded mind. I won't go into too many words because I don't want to get too mean, but get right up on national television. We don't even read the bills. I'm so glad you're, resigning. You should have resigned before you got that permanent status, but we know what it's about. Just because you're a millionaire, rich don't stay rich by giving. They stay rich by taking. And she is taking from the American people. If she was really MAGA or America first, she would have resigned a while back, instead of just waiting until she got the benefits of it. But Congress, you don't read these things. You just want this as a means of control to show your constituents that, hey, we're doing something, and we said no to this when they did this. No, you didn't. If you said no, you would have legislated something to put a stop to it, right? So they want to know what the costs are going to be, the readiness, and the global risk. Most of you people in Congress don't even know how weapons work. Why do you need to know about readiness? You guys struggle to get ready and meet on time for congressional meetings, but you want to know about our military's readiness. All you need to know is that we have a commander-in-chief currently and a secretary of defense currently that actually want the military to succeed. Something I learned today, did you know that Donald Trump is giving $1,776 to every active military member, about 1.4 million people, tax-free? Before Christmas? He's giving them $1,776 tax-free. Yes, that's $1,776 for those that can't keep up. Your president's doing that. Congress, what have you done? When the government was shut down, you benefited solely. You got paid, but not your air traffic controllers, your TSA workers, your military. They got to work without pay. And if it weren't for Trump, even then, making sure they got some money, a lot of these people would have been evicted, not been able to move across the country for PCS or any of that stuff because of you, Congress, because you felt the need to shut the government down because you didn't like something that you had already voted on multiple times. But I digress. That's not what this segment is about. Their concerns are simple. Fewer commands could be diluted regional expertise. I don't believe anybody that sits in command over our military, and I'm talking about the generals, and they're not getting rid of them. They're just consolidating them into smaller groups. So there's less oversight from here to there to here to there. I'm of the belief that if you haven't served and fought, you shouldn't be in command anyway. And this actually benefits those more so who have done this. So they think that the Congress thinks that there's going to be a slower response time and blind spots because you don't have three extra sets of eyes looking at these things. And they believe that, this is volatile areas that we're trying to pull away from. No, he's consolidating. What is this big government mentality? We don't need a bigger government. We need a streamlined, skinny, ready to fight at all times government. This bloated government that can't move to get out of its own way only serves to hurt the American people. And that wasn't a fat joke. It's just facts. Anything that's too big is slow. It's very slow. When we have a government that is too big, it takes hours and weeks and years to get things changed. The VA is a perfect example of this. Look at how long some people go without getting responses on their disabilities. Some people's family members die because they're not able to get their assessments done because they keep getting put off because the government is too big. They're too big. But this isn't just a reshuffle. It's a power shift. and it's a good power shift. The Pentagon wants to speed Congress up, or speed our military up, whereas Congress wants oversight. Oversight and regulations are like a constrictor. When it feels like it tightens up. When it feels like it loosens up. But that leaves more room for money to be taken out, because when you want to make moves, you tighten up things and squeeze it, and then when it's about to pass out, you let go of it, and it's dazed and amazed, and now you make your moves, and then when it's starting to recover its bearings to pay attention to what's really going on, you're constricted again. When you get rid of that, these things can be vigilant and pay attention. So your oversight is pointless. Congress, stay where you're supposed to be. You don't legislate the military, as it were. You do make legislation for it, but you're not legislating it for the power purposes that you think. Our military needs to be ran by one individual, not people that don't know whether they're coming or going, or don't know what a fully automatic weapon is versus a semi-automatic weapon, or what a 22 looks like. So the fight over military command is really a fight over control, accountability, and American global posture. Congress wants to essentially eradicate what it is to have a executive branch and just be in totality control of everything. They want to make the laws and then enforce the laws themselves. But you actually now have a commander-in-chief that is enforcing the laws that they put in place, and they don't like it because they're violating their own laws and they're getting in trouble for it. So I'm here for that. I'm very much here for that. And I think that is a beautiful thing and a win for America if it goes off like it's supposed to, like they plan. If it doesn't, we're in trouble. But we've been in trouble for quite some time. If you don't see it, you're the problem. Our next story is Pacific narco shutdown. Now, this is pretty interesting on this particular story. Even under scrutiny, the mission doesn't stop. Now, everybody knows about good old Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. While Washington debates, the U.S. military still is taking action against the drug trafficking at sea. And if you believe that these are fishing boats, I have some beachfront property in my backyard that I'll sell to you for the low price of $1 million. All you have to do is just come and sign today. If you believe that these are fishing vessels like we're being led to believe. Orders are being carried out. The message is clear. America is staying tough on drugs as it should be. How many of you lost family members to drugs? I have. How many of you have lost years to drugs? Plenty of people. But it seems like Congress, both right and left, wants to stifle the drugs. Why are you trying to stifle the drug trafficking? Are you funding it, or are you making money off of it? Congress members? Is that how some of you go in making $174,000 a year and come out millionaires? Huh? We know you do it with Big Pharma, but are you doing it with illegal substances? Because that's the only reason I could think you would want to stop that. Right? Let's get into it. The U.S. Southern Command recently conducted a lethal strike on 3 suspected drug trafficking vessels in international waters on the Eastern Pacific, killing 8 individuals on board. Bravo. I'm here for it. The Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, authorized the action as a part of an ongoing counter-narcotics operation aimed at stopping the drugs before they even reach the United States of America. I have this video. I apologize for not putting it in, and I'm going to make a video on it. So if you guys are tuning in, keep your eyes peeled for this video. I might make this video here shortly. Did you know that this plan that's being put in place right now was a plan that Joseph Robinette Biden, your previous president, and previous administration lead, wanted in the 80s? Yeah, 1989. He was all for this. He actually was the one that coined narco-terrorism. Strange. It's cool when he does it. It's a problem when Trump does it. Well, Pete Hegseth says, screw it. We're going to do it. Even if you're investigating me, we gonna do it. So importantly, under this international maritime law, here's the problem that Congress doesn't seem to think about or even understand. How are most of these people in Congress lawyers and attorneys and doctors, and they're dumb as a box of rocks? How? It's simple. It's simple. My father used to tell me all the time, all you have to do is just read, and all they have to do is read. If you pull up international maritime law, vessels operating on the high seas are required, not requested, required, not suggested, required to identify themselves or fly a recognized national flag. That is an agreement on all nations. All nations have agreed to abide by this international maritime law. That is plain and simple. It's plain and simple, clear as day. Now, I have a question. Are these vessels identifying themselves? Are these vessels flying recognizable national flags? No, they're not. Well, the response is appropriate. Don't identify. Don't reply to our hails, because you have to hail them. Hey, who are you? What are you doing? Why are you going this way? Silence. Static. Hey, if you don't reply, bad things are going to happen. Static. Hey, we are trying to figure out what you're doing, where you're going, what's on that boat, what's in those barrels. Static. Well, bombs away. Boats that fail to do so in identifying themselves consider themselves as stateless vessels. And that's a major red flag. Don't you know this is the year of red flags? You know, people avoid and ignore red flags all the time, but not our Department of War. They don't avoid or ignore red flags at all. They go after them. So it's generally commonly associated with trafficking, piracy, and transnational crime when they fail to identify. And according to the U.S. officials, these boats showed no clear identification. We're operating on known smuggling routes, and they are matching, established trafficking profiles. They have a certain color scheme. They have certain coverings. So why the hullabaloo? Why is Pete Hegseth being investigated for carrying out orders? Why don't you try to impeach Trump again and say that he's doing something wrong? I dare you. It won't work out the way you think, but I dare you. So despite this political pressure and ongoing investigations in Washington, the Pentagon is still bombs over Baghdad. They're executing lawful orders and enforcing international rules of the sea. This isn't them just being reckless and just shooting at people for deterrence purposes. This is them stopping drug cartels that rely on anonymity, because if you don't know who I am, it makes it harder for you to capture me, stop me. And these unmarked vessels are in gray zones where if you don't identify, you can catch the hands. By enforcing maritime law and acting decisively, the United States is single-handedly stopping these drug dealers and traffickers in the gray zone. And they're making that gray zone smaller by actively working in that area. So if these boats come over with flags and America bombs one of them, that is an international crime. It has not happened yet. So if you fail to identify, that is a you problem, and you deserve all the hands that you're going to get. That's just how that works. Leadership is being tested under this pressure from Congress. And right now, the mission continues. Protect the homeland, disrupt cartels, and enforce the law on the land and the sea. So why do we have a problem with any of this? I don't see a problem. And until America makes a mistake and hurts someone that has identified or is repping a flag of a nation, there's no problem. All it really is just another issue to try to throw a wrench in the full steam ahead Trump machine. The Trump administration is doing any and everything it can to benefit the American people by keeping drugs out. And if you've lost a loved one or lost years in your own life to drugs, you would understand that any drugs is a bad thing. And the less that are in our country, the easier it is to help people recover. It's just facts. Well, some people don't like facts. They just want feelings. So you keep coming into this gray zone and we're going to keep going boom, boom, boom. I'm here for it. Our next story is called Terror in the Tankers. Venezuela's oil exports have slammed into a wall. Not because of the market forcing them to do so, not because of the weather, but because the United States is enforcing rules at sea. Now, this story kind of coincides a little bit with the last one, but, you know, why is it a problem when Donald Trump enforces rules, but not a problem when, you know, people don't enforce rules? I don't get it. After the U.S. seized a Venezuelan oil tanker carrying sanctioned crude oil shipments in and out of the Venezuela, the country of Venezuela, they have nearly stopped all movement of oil tankers. Tankers are refusing to load. Shipping companies are backing off. Millions of barrels are now stranded at offshore areas. So the U.S. Only approved shipments mainly go through the Chevron, which is a company, if you don't know. It's one of the largest oil companies in the world. And most people go to Chevron gas stations. Those are still moving. So essentially what America has done is bottlenecked Venezuela. And this is all at the behest because Nicolas Maduro won't stop the drugs from coming out of his country. And if you think that America is dumb enough not to watch these little boats come off the shores of these areas, and they can track the trail because these boats are putting off oil as they move through the water, they can track these trails. They have cameras that can do that. They have drones that are watching these areas, and they're watching these boats come off these areas. If you think that the U.S. can't see where these boats with drugs are coming from, you're mistaken. And this is the purpose of, or the response of Trump. He says, hey, if you don't stop these drugs, we're going to stop your oil shipment, import and export. The seizure was a part of a broader enforcement against Venezuela's sanctioned oil trade, which funds the Maduro regime. So essentially, without the oil, Nicolas Maduro doesn't make money. And it's basically strangling them. And it's not, Trump is not doing this to be mean or interfere with other countries, even though it might seem that way. He's doing so because he's asked them repeatedly to stop something or to get a handle on something, and they don't want to. That's probably because, and I'm speculating here, Nicolas Maduro is on the take of the cartels coming in and out of Venezuela. So under international maritime law, tankers must comply with sanctions. That's how he can do it. He's actually using the law. He's actually using the law. He's not just doing this as a bully. He's using the law. You know, the thing that Congress and all these other countries have agreed upon? The law. They must identify ownership and operate under lawful authorization. And if they don't identify ownership, which is a little bit different than identifying yourself to who is hailing you, but you must identify ownership of the tanker. And if they're not doing so, then you could be seized. Yeah, they're at risk of seizure. Same thing if America was doing it. Mexico was doing it. Japan, China, Russia, any of these can be seized, and any of these countries can do so if we do not follow the rules. This is an economic pressure, not warfare. And a lot of people think it's a war. It's not war. Can't have a war until it's declared by the president and Congress, or just by Congress. By targeting oil logistics, not civilians, the U.S. is cutting off the regime's primary cash flow. And it's working. It's working. This is why you see Nicolas Maduro posturing, oh, we have a great army ready to fight the Americans. Sir, you said that you were going to use your police and your natives, your nationals, your people. it wouldn't go I can't even tongue tied. It wouldn't go very well for you if you decided to, you know, fight physically when we're just fighting economically. So oil exports are frozen, revenue is drying up, and the message is unmistakable. Sanctions aren't suggestions. You either abide by the law or you get your crap seized. And these sanctions were only put in place because they won't stop the drugs from coming out of their country. This is how leverage looks without firing a single shot. Tariffs, sanctions, seizures. This is how you win wars without ever fighting one. Venezuela's oil didn't stop moving by accident. It stopped by enforcement of the rules. And when the rules are enforced at sea, regimes that depend on the smuggling feel it. And we know that these people are smuggling stuff in and out, drugs, women, children, because, you know, you don't just traffic drugs when you're a cartel member, you traffic people as well. Our next story is called Article 5-ish. The talks in Berlin and beyond are zeroing in on a most controversial system. And it's very, very volatile in this little system that is going on because they're trying to end the war efforts in Ukraine with security guarantees, not NATO membership. See, what's cool is you don't need to be a part of a club if you know how to negotiate. You can make moves without being a part of a club. So something like NATO is a Cold War effort put in place to make sure things work that are no longer needed. These countries are big boys and they know better. And if you can handle yourself, you can handle yourself. If you're not, you can't. You don't need NATO. You really don't. So what does this really mean? The U.S. and the European leaders have been negotiating with Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine, on future security guarantees that would protect Ukraine after the war. This is similar to the Budapest Memorandum, if you guys remember, from 1994, which would guarantee that if Russia, Section C, Part 4, if you can read, states that if Russia uses nuclear weapons of any kind, then Britain and the U.S. would come to their aid. If they did certain things in general, that U.S. and Britain would come to their aid. Not fight, but come to their aid by way of financial means or whatever is necessary. These guarantees are being described as NATO-like commitments, similar in spirit to Article 5 collective defense, but tailored to and for Ukraine's unique situation. Part of the proposal involves maintaining a strong Ukrainian army, European-led forces, securing airspace and borders, and U.S.-led mechanisms to monitor and deter future threats. So it's not saying, hey, we're going to go over here and fight for you. It's saying, hey, through these channels, we're going to make it a little bit easier for you not to catch hands. And yeah, you get doing what you're doing, but you might want to keep your mouth shut. And if you do so, we can keep Russia at bay. But President Zelensky has a few words that he stated on it, but even he has come down and signaled his willingness to stop Ukraine's NATO bid if guaranteed Western help or a seat at the Western world's table. That was one of the things under the Budapest Memorandum, is that Ukraine could not join any groups, couldn't have nuclear weapons, and then later it was stated that they couldn't join NATO, which it was colloquially understood between them that they couldn't join NATO because why would you want an enemy in your backyard? Russia's words. And this is not a pro-Russia or Russian sympathetic segment. It's just the facts. A lot of the facts that they won't tell you. But Russia has ultimately pushed back, insisting that it won't accept foreign troops in Ukraine because you don't want enemies in your backyard. They don't want British, American, French, German, nobody in their backyard, which is understandable. If you had a neighbor that didn't like you, would you want them walking in your backyard willy-nilly, or are you going to put up a fence of some sort to keep them out? So ultimately, it's a reaffirming its opposition to security pacts involving Western forces. Point blank, period. America, hey, you can help, but you can't come over here, which is understandable. While the U.S. is moving forward, these guarantees aren't final. They would still require approval from the U.S. Senate and agreements from the European partners. I'm here for it if it costs us less money. I'm here for it if it doesn't cost us any money at all. I'm here for it if it takes responsibility off of us and puts it on Europe, because Ukraine is in Europe. This is not like it's Alaska or Hawaii or, heck, even Puerto Rico or the Philippines. These people have no allegiances to us or really dealings with us other than taking our money. The security guarantees aren't just rhetoric. They're just a cornerstone of peace negotiations, because Ukraine needs assurances that tomorrow's peace won't devolve into tomorrow's war. Well, stop being stupid. This war could have been over a long time ago. There's been many of these talks put in place a long time ago. You wanted this war to keep going because it was funding your pocket. Yeah, I'm talking about the president of Ukraine. He didn't want this war to end. Zelensky knew what he was doing. But crafting this peace deal is a tricky situation. Too weak and they won't deter Russia. Too strong and you provoke Russia. And you risk pulling the United States deeper into future conflicts with a foreign nation. And that's not what we're about. The fact that the U.S. is still seriously discussing NATO-style protection without full NATO membership shows Washington is trying to strike a balance between deterrence and diplomacy. A sovereignty for America and, hey, we'll help out, but only so far. You need to handle your business over here because you're over here. So you need to be asking these people over here for help. Security guarantees for Ukraine might not look like full NATO membership, but for Kiev and its supporters, they might actually, best take this lasting little peace snippet before it dissolves into nothingness altogether. And then they're up the creek without a paddle when it comes to Russia. And then Russia can just come in and take over in its entirety. They have been warring over this little area of land since the 1400s. If you know, you know, do your research. I think this is a beneficial thing to the United States. It's less money out of our pocket and more European intervention. We don't want to be there. We really don't want to be there. We don't care. Not saying we don't care about the people, but we don't care about the conflict. It's not for America to jump and bark every single time someone gets in a conflict and then fund and back it. It's not for us. It really isn't. And I know the American people are sick and tired of seeing being drug into senseless conflicts, losing our sons and our daughters, our fathers and our mothers, our brothers and our sisters, our aunts and our uncles to war, to conflicts. I don't like it. But what I do like is no entry period. Washington has just expanded the U.S. travel ban. Yeah. The media is trying to spin it, of course, to make it look bad, but I'm here for it. And this time it's bigger and broader and tied explicitly to national security and public safety, as it always should have been and should remain always. It should always be about public safety and national security. If it's not, then what are we really doing? So some facts for you. President Trump signed a new presidential proclamation that expands the list of foreign national restrictions from entering the United States in its entirety. The updated ban, effective January 1st, 2026, applies to full travel restrictions to dozens of countries, including Syria, which, we just made a deal with Syria. We've been negotiating with Syria to try to get a gripping control over the problem between Palestine and Israel. So I thought, as some was saying, that Trump was a Muslim cuck. No. Why would he do that to Syria? And we've done deals with them. They guaranteed us something akin to 6 billion or 600 million or something around there. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head right now. No, I think it might have been 600 billion over the course of some years. Why would he do that to them if we're supposed to be in deals with them? Maybe because he knows what's coming out of there. And we are not Barack Obama. We don't just let terrorists into our country and let them live here through refugee ship and have babies here and outbreed Americans. We don't do that. No. We put a stop to it. And it's an effective and needful stop to it. Another country is Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, Laos, Sierra Leone, and individuals traveling on Palestinian Authority documents. They're not allowed. And if you look into any of this, you would know that majority of these nations have been killing Christians left and right. Yeah, Muslims. All of these nations are heavily ran by Islam. I said it. Yeah, I said it. The left won't say it. They won't call the Muslims out, but I will. These people are terrorists. Everywhere they go, they destroy. It's either comply or die. I will continue to say that until it's not applicable anymore, but I don't think that'll ever be the case. But it is what it is. In total, the new list covers roughly 39 countries with either full or partial limitations on immigrant and non-immigrant visas. According to the White House, the actions is a part of a broader policy to protect Americans from foreign nationals with deficient vetting systems. We have just been letting people in willy-nilly just to do what they want, just because they say, we love America, we want to be here in America, and then next thing you know, they're blowing themselves up or killing Americans. Because you're not vetting these people. You're vetted harder as an American citizen just to get your license than some of these people were in the past to getting in our countries. They're coming here on certain visas and overstaying and disappearing into the system because the system doesn't really care under other presidential administrations. The high overstay rates are going to decrease. And you definitely don't want high overstay rates from countries that proudly beat their chest, death to America, death to America, Allahu Akbar, death to America, which Allahu Akbar doesn't mean death to America, but it might as well. Now they're screaming death to Israel, death to America, death to Canada. Why? Because we stand in the way of what they want. They can't do it physically yet, but they're trying to do it politically. And this actually puts a constraint on that. It's stopping a lot of the corrupt actors. This proclamation revives and extends existing screening and vetting requirements that had been long gone out to pasture under Barack Obama, who was the deporter in chief, but while he was deporting in your face, he was bringing his buddies in the background. Why do you think Michigan and Minnesota are overrun by Somalians? How'd they get here? Do you remember? I do. So this is bringing back existing requirements that have been lax over other administrations. And it narrows certain visa exceptions while still allowing case-by-case waivers. If the people really need to be here for whatever reason, they can come here and then we can keep a close eye on them, and then they got to go. They got to get out of here. We only want people that are lawful, law-abiding individuals that come to do what they need to do and get out. If you want to become a citizen of this great nation that is the United States of America, you go through the proper channels, not overstay your visa and disappear into the system. Critics end up saying that this expanded travel ban risks straining U.S. diplomatic relations. I don't care. If you don't want to be in a state of diplomacy with the United States because we won't let your sand buddies over here that want to go boom, 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 bye. Who cares? Who cares? And then the left goes on to say it harms academic, cultural, and economic exchanges. Listen to me. This might sound real crazy to you, but I'm going to go off script a little bit. Just a wee bit. And I want you to quote me on this. Get your screen recorders ready. I am racist. I am xenophobic. I am Islamophobic. I am homophobic. I'm I'm anti pro-white. I'm all of these things that go against anything that is not American culture. So if you are pro-Islam, you need to go. If you're pro-black, you need to go. If you're pro-white, you need to go. So if you want to call me a racist, a xenophobe, or as Islamophobe or a homophobe, you need to, sure, I'll be those things. If you're pro-LGBT, you need to go because it's America first. It is America first. You came here to live here because it allows you to be who you want to be and do what you want to do within the confines of the Constitution of the United States, within the confines of the law. But you're coming over here trying to change the law to suit where you came from. And like Trump said, those places are crap holes. Why would you want to make America like that crap hole that you come from? It sounds bad. It doesn't sound good, but it's the truth. These people are coming here and turning Dearborn, Michigan, which I believe in 2008 was around 72% white, 8% or so, 10% black, and the rest were others, mostly Asians, is now 55% Muslim. Make that make sense. And that's in a matter of, 16, 17 years? Complete switch, demographic switch. People have moved away from it because these people have come over here and turned Dearborn, Michigan into where they came from, which allegedly they fled where they came from because it wasn't safe. If you want America to be anything other than America, you need to go. That includes with the Americans that want, pro-white, pro-black, Black Lives Matter, white power, KKK. Go. That is not America first. America is, hey, you come, live and let live. You do you, I do me. You got the freedom of your religion, but if your religion starts to try to become government, it needs to go. It needs to go. What's clear is that the White House is betting that tighter entry rules will reduce the threats before they can reach American soil, kind of like what we're doing with the international maritime law. You don't identify, you die. You don't stop bringing drugs in our country, we strangle your reserves and your import and export. Why? Because it's not hurting you, it's hurting us. And I don't want another American to die. One American life, whether it's a liberal or not, is worth more to me than the world. It sounds crazy. But it is. If one more American has to go without food, I don't care about the rest of the world. If one more American has to go with being raped or assaulted, I don't care about the rest of the world. If one more American has to go with homelessness, I don't care about the rest of the world. Why are we taking care of other people's houses before we take care of our own? This is what pushes my mindset to be America only. Not because I'm a selfish person, not because I don't love people, not because I don't want to see the world better, but why do I care about the world being better if my home is on fire? Travel restrictions aren't just immigration policies, they're national security policy. Whether you agree or not, the administration has doubled down on it. Vetting and screening is a frontline process for defense. Why don't you want to protect your home? You lock your doors at night. Most of you, whether Democrat or Republican, have guns. Why do you have a gun? Why do you lock your car? You go to the hood and someone walks by, bloop, bloop, you lock your car. Why? Because you don't want yours being taken. So why are you letting these people come over here all willy-nilly and taking? This is not fear-mongering, it's facts. If you can't see it, you've been psyoped, essentially. It is what it is. Our next story is called Power Talks, Rebels Walk. And we're coming to the end of our show. We have one more story after this, and I appreciate you guys for staying with me this long. And I hope that I haven't bored you too much, but These last two stories are pretty good. This last one, or this one right here, is a follow-up of another story I did. So if you've been following along for any amount of time, you will know what I'm talking about. A peace deal signed in Washington just a week ago is already under strain. And the United States is calling out Rwanda for violating it. Yeah. This isn't just this diplomacy. It's falling apart. It's a flashpoint that could reshape the stability across Central Africa. And the only reason I'm mentioning this at all is because, one, Donald Trump was the one to broker this deal, so that makes it American centric, even though it's for another nations. But also, Christians are being killed left and right in Africa. 70 Christians at the beginning of this year were beheaded in Congo. By who? Muslims. Because like the cartel runs Venezuela and Mexico, the Muslims run other nations. And you even had the president of the Congo, DRC, begging Donald Trump, if you help with this problem with these Muslims, we will give you whatever natural resource you want. Should have took it. But we got it another way. But this is a problem. If these two countries can't get themselves, who have been fighting for a long time, over a decade, if they can't get themselves in order, how do you expect to fight against the real enemy that's in their backyard? Earlier this month, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda signed a U.S. brokered peace agreement designated to halt the years of fighting in the eastern Congo. The deal called for restraint on both sides. You don't poke the bear, and the bear won't come over here and fight you. Including the end of support to the armed groups and the steps towards regional de-escalation. So there are groups being armed and made dangerous that are coming in and just killing people that are not doing anything. It's like war we've never seen before. These people are quite literally just going into villages and towns that are not doing anything, not involved at all, and just laying waste to them. But despite the agreement, the Rwanda-backed M23 rebel group, which is the problem, there's these rebel groups, continued advancing in eastern Congo, capturing the strategic city of Uvira and forcing tens of thousands of civilians to flee while shooting them in the back. In response, the United States publicly accused Rwanda of violating the peace deal, warning that continued actions risk undermining the regional stability and the credibility of the agreement signed in Washington. Under the mounting international pressure, including the direct demands from the U.S., the M23 has later announced it would pull back from the Uvira area, framing the move as a confidence-building step. Y'all should have already been gone. As soon as that deal was signed, you should have been gone. This isn't about one city. It's about rebels running nations. And you see this day in and day out all around the world. But in this case, if someone brokers a deal for you and you don't get these people in check, that means that you're not in control of your country, like Maduro isn't in control of his, or he's on the take. A peace pact signed in Washington is being tested on the ground in eastern Congo, and the rebels are attempting to pull back. The accusations remain a real question mark. It remains. Can diplomacy hold when conflict steps up and keeps pushing forward? If not, you might not want to keep poking the bear, because America's a bigger bear, Rwanda. And if that's the case, Trump, he ain't gonna send no troops over there. He's just gonna, all you hear is that bzzz, and that ain't no bee. And then you're gonna see things light up like a Christmas tree. You might want to stop. You might want to stop. It doesn't benefit you to continue to be stupid. It doesn't. Our last story of today is called Bibles at the Border. Now, I always have to throw some biblical context in there, because this show is about truth, some conspiracy, but ultimately the Bible. Nicaragua just made a striking new rule that tourists can no longer bring Bibles into the country. China much? This isn't about weapons or contraband. It's about controlling faith and information, which is crazy to me. It's like, why are you so worried about Christianity? By the way, there's lots of Muslims in Nicaragua, and they're not telling them to go anywhere or that they can't bring their Quran when they come. Why is it always Christianity? So authorities in Nicaragua under President Daniel Ortega have enforced a ban preventing tourists from bringing Bibles into the country. The restriction is also applying to other printed materials, including books, newspapers, and magazines, as well as items like cameras and drones, because they don't want you to show what they're really doing over there. So they like to say that America is trying to push for white Christian nationalism. What is Nicaragua doing? They're not letting you see what's going on there. They're not letting books and Bibles in there, newspapers in there. They don't want any outside material. Kind of sounds like what China has done for years. You keep your people blind, and your people don't know what's going on outside the world. Outside in the world, they just will fall in place and comply to whatever you're saying. That sounds like a dictatorship, Mr. Ortega. The rule has been posted at the transportation hubs and border crossings and has reportedly been enforced for several months now. This move comes amid a broader crackdown on religious organizations and civil societies. Hundreds of churches and charities and faith-based groups have had legal status revoked. So basically, if you come over there and you're having legal status, kind of like a green card in America there, and if you're a Christian, bye. And I love how the left will try to say, oh, they're talking about all religions. No, they're not. No, they're not. There are churches that are in Nicaragua that have been shut down. I have inside information from a pastor that no longer lives there, but has a lot of contacts here that I talk to on a regular basis, saying that all the churches that he planted there when he lived there, gone. And he's from there. All gone. All shut down. Gone. Human rights advocates say that the ban isn't about safety. It's about restricting expression and limiting the free practice of religion. Sounds like the Democrats here. You don't want Bibles in school, but you won't tell those people that rock that Quran that they can't have that there. You won't tell them that they can't pray in the middle of the streets in New York 5 times a day, impeding traffic. You won't tell them that. Why? Don't force your beliefs on us. Okay, I'm a Christian. I won't force my belief on you. However, when they say Islam will be in every home in America, what does that mean? What does that mean? When governments ban Bibles at the border, it's not about regulating tourism. It's about policing beliefs. If you're a Christian and you're going to Nicaragua, you won't be able to say you're a Christian. And the Bible says specifically, if you deny me before men, I will deny you before my Father. This reflects a deeper authoritarian shift where control over ideas become just as important as control over territory. A country that fears a book, essentially, reveals more about itself than the critics could ever uncover. This isn't just Nicaragua's issue. It's a warning sign for religious freedom everywhere. Our Bible verse today comes out of Luke 19:14. But his citizens hated him and sent a message after him, saying, we will not have this man to reign over us. When you speak truth, when you live righteously and above reproach, the people don't want you. Mr. Ortega has already said that they don't want Jesus in Nicaragua. So what will you do when things go upside down there? Don't call on Jesus for help. You told him no. Guys, as always, thank you for joining me. This has been a lovely show. I can't wait to see you guys next week. But do me a favor, make sure you're not one of the ones that miss the forest for the trees. Have a good one.